Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast from Las Vegas, Nevada. I have TJ Robertson, and he's going to talk to us all about SEO, the state of SEO, the play of SEO, and in particular, we're going to really focus on how AI and SEO and the large language models are working together. And I'm really happy to have him on. TJ, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah. And briefly introduce yourself, and we will dive into the questions.
Great. Yeah, I've been doing digital marketing since 2009, mostly SEO, as you mentioned. Anyone who's not familiar, that's just ranking at the top of Google and all the things that go into that. But recently, that's been changing a lot. And so my focus has been more on how you can rank in these large language models like ChatGPT, because that's just the way things are going, especially even in Google. They're starting to replace traditional search with AI responses. And the plan is to really have the entire search results replaced by an AI response. And understanding how to be recommended by the AI, I think, is going to be the most important thing for business owners, for entrepreneurs who are trying to get found online.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, we're gonna dive into how this will play out, but briefly, the clients that come to work with you, we talked about the people that listen to this podcast, professional executives, high income, high net worth, business owners, entrepreneurs. What people come to you? Are they the social media influencer? Are they marketing agencies? Who comes to work with you?
Most of my clients have been small business owners, usually local businesses. And I've worked with some medium-sized businesses as well. But yeah, a lot of like local service businesses. So I've worked with a lot of attorneys, but also plumbers and window tint shops. I've worked with schools. Yeah, this really applies to anyone though, because as the AI gets better, people are going to rely on algorithms more and more, right? We already let algorithms make a lot of decisions for us, but the smarter they get, the more reliable they can make decisions or make recommendations that align with what we're looking for, the more people are going to be using them. And so if ChatGPT and Google's AI are recommending you, whether you're an entrepreneur or a small business owner, you'll do well. And if they aren't recommending you, it's going to be really hard to get traction.
Huh, interesting. And so, how will this traditionally? You went to Google, you went to the search bar, you typed in your query, and now they used to be like 99%. Now for me, it's 50% Google, 50% chat. So, how will this play out when you say that large language models will dominate search?
Yeah. So Google still gets a lot more traffic than ChatGPT, but Google's traffic is falling very slowly, while ChatGPT's is rising very quickly. But also, people are much more likely to take the advice of ChatGPT. So if, let's say, you're looking for an attorney, maybe you got hurt in a car accident, you're looking for a personal injury attorney, you might go to Google and type personal injury attorney near me. It's going to give you some recommendations, but you're unlikely to just go and immediately hire whoever's rank one, right? You'll just take them as recommendations. If you go to ChatGPT and you say, I just got hurt in an accident, I'm in Las Vegas, for example, and I just got hit and I need a personal injury attorney, but I really don't want to work with a big firm. I'm looking for something maybe smaller. And you and ChatGPT going back and forth for a while, and maybe you have a 5-minute, 10-minute conversation. And at the end of that conversation, ChatGPT is going to be like, okay, based on everything you're looking for, I've searched the internet and I found this is the best personal injury attorney for you. You're way more likely to call that one. And so the conversion rates on ChatGPT are just way higher. And Google's building this. So Google has something called AI mode. It looks a lot like ChatGPT, where they are pulling in results, but it's all just baked into one page. So if you're familiar with Perplexity, it looks a lot like that. So you have, instead of having to click through to websites to find the information you're looking for, Google just does all the searches for you. They'll search through hundreds of websites, pull out what's relevant to your query, and just make one document. And that document might have images and videos and text, but you're not actually going to the websites. And then you can continuously have a conversation, just like you would in ChatGPT. And so really, I think while I'm still doing things for my clients to help them rank in traditional search, my focus is entirely on that model, because I think by the end of 2025, you would much rather be getting recommended by large language models than ranking high in Google.
Interesting. So it's all about, because I know with there's this idea where you go, or it's a search intent, and then there's this new concept where people are looking for answers to their questions as opposed to just what is the most populated or what is the most popular or trafficked places to be. So a follow-up question I have for you is, will do you given this scenario, will AI replace search engines?
I think more or less. I think there's still going to be places where search engines make sense. And AIs do use search engines. And it is good to think about how these search engines work and how to rank there. But more and more, it is going to be an AI experience.
Mhm.
They're using AI mode to test some of these features. They've made the mistake in the past of rolling out too quickly, and sometimes the AI gives embarrassing answers. And so now they have a separate tab for AI mode. And then as soon as they're sure that people like one of the features, they'll bring it into the main search page until it's all come into the main search page. And then, yeah, I really do think that will be the norm. I think you say yourself you've used about 50% ChatGPT. For most cases, it's just a better user experience, and that user experience is improving very quickly, while the traditional search experience has pretty much reached its limit.
Yeah. Yeah, because Google, you type in something in like the top, give you like 5 and they're all sponsored, and then just gives you a list of websites, and but the chat will actually compile things, and based on what you're asking it, it'll tailor its answers and put things together much better, more like an assistant. So then what is the difference between how a website or a page gets indexed on Google search? Let's say it's the number 1 on Google versus number 1 on the large language models. What are the significant differences? Like, how can people tailor their websites or their
Mhm.
content to rank higher on large language models?
Yeah, a lot of it's the same, but I'll talk about the ways it's different. Large language models are looking at everything. So there's actually two ways you get recommended by them. Either you're in the training data, and that gets updated slowly. So the training data is pretty out of date. But if you're asking for a question that requires some relevance, then the LLM will use a search engine. So you either need to be in the training data or you need to come up from those searches. So a lot of SEOs are out there saying nothing's changing. They're just using the search engines anyways. So as long as you're ranking the search engines, you're good. What they're missing is the searches are way different. LLM search in a way that humans will never search. And so if you're looking for, again, with a personal injury attorney, you go to Google, you type personal injury attorney near me. If you're talking with ChatGPT, and you're going to give it a lot more context, and the search that it's finally going to run in Bing, that's the search engine that ChatGPT uses right now, is going to be something like small boutique personal injury firm with experience in motorcycle accidents. It's going to be this really long search that no one would ever type into Google. And so what works really right now is just making sure that you have a page on your website for each possible way people might search. Personal injury attorneys actually already do this really well. If you've ever seen one of their websites, they will definitely have a page just about motorcycle accidents. But other companies could follow suit. And then also just making sure that all the information that anyone would ever want to know about your company is on your website. And you want it off your website as well, but your website's the easiest place because people are going to ask really specific questions, right? I'm going to my wife's trying to find a hair salon and she wants to find someone that has experience with curly hair. And somewhere on your website, you're like, oh, this person in our salon has a lot of experience with curly hair, right? Something you wouldn't normally put on your website, but you're putting everything on there. If that's on your website and not your competitors, ChatGPT is going to find that on your website in a way that Google never would. Google's just looking at the top 10 most authoritative sites for research. ChatGPT is looking at hundreds or thousands of pages.
Wow.
And so it makes sense to just get as much information about your company out there as possible and make sure you have a page on your website for every type of person and every reason that someone might be searching for you.
Huh. And then what about, for example, like social score? There's such things as linking and backlinking and citations, and there's all these metadata and just all these things that Google uses to score, like social ranking. How does that play in the LLMs?
Yeah, so backlinks have been a big part of Google ranking for a long time. PageRank is the term you might have heard of. And for anyone who doesn't know, this is just another website online linking to you. Google ignores most links. What they're looking for is websites that they trust that are an authority in your industry or related industry that are linking to you. They see that as an endorsement, and that can help you rank. And this still matters. We don't know yet how much it's going to matter in large language models, but we can be pretty certain it's going to matter less than it has in the past. What definitely matters more are just what are called mentions. And so this is just like it sounds. It's someone mentioning your brand somewhere online, whether or not they link to you. Now, there's some evidence that this has helped with Google, but it definitely helps with ChatGPT and AI search. Because if you type who's the best, I need a new example. Who's the best window tinting shop in Las Vegas? ChatGPT is going to go and find lists that people have made. They're going to look at Reddit threads where people are talking about the best window tinting shop. You don't need a link anymore. Just someone mentioning your business by name, the LLM will pick up on that and spit the answer right back to you. And so one of the things we do is we find all the websites that the LLMs look at when people ask these kind of questions, and then we try to get our clients mentioned on all of those websites. So it's changing a little bit, but it actually feels a lot like the early days of SEO, where there's just a lot of hacky things you can do. And I could talk about some even spammier ones, but I'm hesitant to do anything spammy because I think it usually ends up backfiring. But it's an exciting time. There's just no one really knows where this is going to settle. We just see some tricks that are working right now.
Yeah. The other innovation that's coming are AI agents and AI avatars. And will AI agents replace websites?
I don't think they'll replace websites, but I do think that they will become more important than websites, probably within a few years. There's a few signs that we have that this is coming. One is Google released, I think, the end of last year, their agent-to-agent protocol. And this is just a structure that agents can use to be able to talk to other agents. And an agent really is just a chatbot that can take actions. But what happened after that is OpenAI and the other big players adopted that protocol. So now we have a shared protocol, meaning anyone who's seriously building agents is going to be adopting this protocol, and all agents will be able to interact with each other. We also know that ChatGPT is trying to build the operating system of the internet, because it would be a lot more convenient if we didn't have to go to a bunch of websites ourselves, do a bunch of research ourselves, try to figure out who we're even supposed to be talking to, where to get the information we need. If we just do it all through ChatGPT, and Google obviously wants us to be doing it all through Gemini, it would be a much better experience. And so you're going to have a lot of great information on your website. But if I can just go to ChatGPT and it can send its agent out to your website and all your competitors' websites, gather all the information it needs, and bring it back to me. And it can even take actions, right? It can even buy things on my behalf on your website. It can sign up for your service. It can schedule a call with you. That's a way better user experience. And so that does seem like the future we're going into. It's going to be a slow transition. So what we're focused on right now is what's an agent we can build on your website now that's useful now, that then we can evolve into one of these agents that's actually working with ChatGPT. And so right now, it mostly looks like glorified chatbots. It's another way to browse the information on your website. When they're done poorly, they're like a worse version of ChatGPT. But when they're done well, it's just a more convenient way to access the information on your website. But then over time, they'll be able to start taking actions for you, and then ultimately link up with ChatGPT and the other bots. And then I think you'll still have a website, because why not? And people could go there and they can interact with your agent directly. But I think most people are going to interact with your business through a ChatGPT or other interface that's handling everything, under the hood, so they don't have to do the annoying digging around.
And how does where does social media come into play now that we will have AI and AI agents? How should businesses start thinking about social media and start adapting to that change?
I think social media is only becoming more important. It's been growing steadily since inception, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop at all. I think video especially is going to become very important. We're starting to see a lot of AI generated content, right? Everyone's seeing it now. And it's going to get worse, but it's also going to get better, in that you've probably only recently seen AI generated content that was actually entertaining, right? For a few years, we had just like terrible AI content. Recently, Google announced VO3, and now some of it's actually good and we actually enjoy it. We're also getting sick of it, but that's going to It's going to keep getting better as we're getting sick of it. And so I think you fast forward to 1 or 2 years from now, we're going to have a bunch of AI content on the internet, but a lot of it's actually going to be really good. And so, one, it's going to be normalized, and most people are just going to be like, okay, cool, some content's AI. But two, people are going to really want not AI content, right? Like at a certain point, you just want to know that this is a real human I'm seeing right here, and they exist in the world and they have experiences. And I think there's going to be a real hunger for that when 80% of our feed is AI content. And so, as a business owner, I think there's a huge opportunity to be creating video, and especially if you can do it as the owner, if you can have someone in your organization, because people don't trust brands, people don't trust companies. And as AI content blows up, there's going to be even less trust in companies. But it's really easy to form a connection with humans. And the only way to do that without having a one-on-one interaction is with video. And nowadays, people don't expect a nice polished video. If you go to TikTok, if you go to YouTube, it's a lot of podcasts, like it's just real, authentic conversations. It's not polished, it's not super edited. It's just people being themselves. That content does really well. So it doesn't have to take a lot of your time. If you're an expert, if you know what you're talking about, you can just point a camera at you and talk, put it on your website, put it on social media, and it's what the algorithms want more than anything. So it's a good way to get exposure. But also, like, before someone does business with you, they're going to do some research on you. Make sure you have some content anywhere where they might look, even if it's just a couple of videos. It's crazy what it does. If you looked at 3 different companies and just one of them had a video and the owner's actually talking to you, telling you about the company, you've only built trust with one of those. It increases conversion rate and exposure like nothing else can.
Yeah, we talked about the intent and getting questions answered and conversions. Because you mentioned there was two things you mentioned was a video. A lot of people are on the short form video content, and like my niece and nephew, they get their information from Instagram Reels. Where does this place blogging? Because you say SEO is
Mm-hmm.
not dead, but it's still relevant. But like I said, I haven't visited a blog. I haven't visited a blog in over 10 years. Do people still read blogs, or it should be like newsletters, email lists, or I mean,
Mm.
that I don't understand this concept of SEO is so important, but blogging is like I said, I haven't visited a blog in over 10 years. So where does that put blogs?
I think blogging is less important now, but it's also way easier to do. So it's leveled out for me. I still do about as many blogs as I did before. So blogs tend to rank for questions. For like when you're looking for information, a blog will rank in Google. And they still do, and they still get traffic. I know, I don't know who these people are, but they get traffic. I see the data. I'm not reading the blogs either. I'd rather just talk to ChatGPT. And that's why they're becoming less valuable, is because people would rather go to ChatGPT. If you ask a question to Google, it's going to give you an AI response. Most people aren't going to go click to a website, and that trend's not slowing down. The kind of content that you should prioritize for SEO is not blog content, but transactional page content. And so going back to the very specific example, if I'm looking for a small personal injury firm with experience with motorcycle accidents, your motorcycle accident page should not be written like a blog post. It should look more like your homepage. It should be talking about who you are, why you're the best law firm, and it should just be slightly tweaked for someone who you know was just in a motorcycle accident. But otherwise, it should be a really nice page on your website. It should be the landing page that you want this person to see now that you know they're interested in a small firm that's looking for a motorcycle. And because of AI, you can create pages like this really quickly. You do a template once, and then you just spin up the pages. And then you don't want all these pages linked from your main navigation bar. You don't want it to look spammy. You structure it in a way where they're nested. But to the user, it doesn't look spammy because they just get a homepage that was made just for them. And that's all they see. They're not going to see the 1,000 of landing pages you made. And you probably shouldn't make 1,000, at least not all at once, because they'll flag you for that if you're creating content at scale too quickly. But yeah, that's the SEO content that I focus on. But the reason the blogging is so easy, especially if you're already doing something like video, is it's really easy to repurpose content. So what I recommend doing is creating what I call like a brand Bible. This is going to be one giant document. The ones I make usually end up being like 30 pages with everything anyone could ever possibly know about your brand. Okay, so you can just talk about your company for 2 hours. I usually come up with a list of questions first to help prompt. And then you just organize that with AI. Now you have this huge document. And then every time you want to create content with AI, you give it that document. And now there's nothing it doesn't know about you. And you can give it some writing samples, and you give it a little bit of instructions. Maybe be like, I'm making content for this page and it needs to follow this template. And then if you're doing a TikTok video, if you're doing a podcast, you take a clip of it, you give the transcript to the AI, and it has all that context, and you say, take this, make it into a blog post with this title. And because it has all that context, because it has specific instructions, and then it's basing it off of your own words, it can make some really high quality blog content in a couple seconds. And so while blogs get less traffic and that traffic is less likely to turn into customers, you might as well. The way I do it, I make one video and I publish to 10 different platforms, video platforms or text platforms. And it's not spam. No one has ever accused me of using AI because it's written in a way that sounds like it's my thoughts. It's just rearranged for the given platform.
Yeah. The other question I have for you is this area, because what's with short form, and is TikTok still going to be relevant in 2026 and beyond, or is TikTok they basically killed it?
Right now, that's where I get most of my leads right now. I didn't expect that to happen, but yeah, I posted 10 different platforms. TikTok is the one that just blew up for me. I don't know, your experience may vary, but right now, TikTok is doing well. It doesn't look like it's going to get banned. We thought for a while it would, and right now it's looking that's probably not going to happen. Yeah, I think TikTok will be relevant for a while. The one thing I would pay attention to, or rather wouldn't pay attention to, is view counts. I think a lot of people, they go on these platforms and they're just doing whatever they can to get more views, get more reactions. It's not that more views isn't better. Twice as many views is twice as good. But it's not all that matters, right? You can have a video that goes viral and gets 1 million views, but if it doesn't showcase your product or service, if it doesn't showcase your expertise, it's really not worth anything to you. Some of the videos I've made get a couple hundred views, but I get a couple leads from it. And then I have videos that get tens of thousands of views and I never got a lead from it. And so really focusing more on, yes, just representing yourself online, showcasing what you do, I think is more important than those interactions.
Yeah. And I've been talking to another marketer, and what was interesting was, because one camp is saying follower count doesn't matter. It's build your email list, and those are your most loyal. You could have 0 views, but if it resonates with your audience. And then there's another camp that I talked to another marketer yesterday, and he was saying he got 1.2 million followers, and before that, sponsors and advertisers were just like blowing him off. But once he hit a certain number, then they're all knocking on his door. So how do you reconcile those two?
No, that is a good point. Follower count definitely matters way less than it used to, and especially in terms of getting views. You can have no followers and you can get a video with 10 million views out there. The algorithms, they just want to keep people on the platform, right? They don't care how many followers you have. If you have a video that's keeping people hooked, they're going to keep showing it until they run out of people to show it to. But you bring up a good point, or your last guest did, that it is becoming like a social cred score. People are going to look at your follower count and use that to determine, are you legitimate? I'm sure, like, as a podcast host, you're probably looking at people's follower counts to try to decide, like, how big is this person? Do I want them on my show? And I think it definitely matters for that reason. And it will help some. Like, you will get more views if you have more followers. It's not how it used to be. It's not nearly as important as it used to be. But I do, and that's another thing, is businesses often won't start these social media channels, or entrepreneurs, because they're embarrassed that they're going to look like they're trying to get followers and failing. No one wants to have 100 followers on a platform and someone see it. But I don't think people should worry about that anymore, because I think it's becoming normalized that businesses will make these platforms even if they aren't trying to grow a big following. And it's actually more embarrassing if you're just not there. If you're just, if I search for you on TikTok and nothing comes up, that's worse than you coming up and you have 25 followers and 3 videos. At least I get to see some videos from you and I know you're a real person.
Yeah, interesting. To round it out, if like people are listening to this, what's the number one thing that people can start doing today to make their business competitive in 2026 and beyond?
Start making content. However that feels natural to you, get content on your website. That's the easiest way to do it. But you just want to cast yourself out into the internet as much as possible. The algorithms are going to be controlling everything. You want them scraping your data. You want them knowing about you, who you are, and your company. So just find a way to do it and start making content.
Yeah. And how can people connect with you and learn more from you and reach out to you?
Oh, yeah, thanks. My website is tjrobertson.com, and I'm happy to do a free audit for anyone with a marketing budget.
Yeah, excellent. I really enjoyed this conversation. It answered a lot of my questions, and keep up the great work.
Thanks, Chris. It was fun.